Hey, it's Kayla here. I just completed my cultural exploration experience. And so, for this project, I went to a middle, upper class, white community ish Catholic church. And it was really interesting because I'm not Catholic, I'm Lutheran. And it was a very different experience than what I was used to. I grew up in the hood of Milwaukee, and I went to a white suburb. So not only was I a fish out of water, religiously, but also socioeconomically as well. So that's kind of why I picked it. So basically, what happened was as I walked in, everyone was super nice. They, said hi. They told me I could sit anywhere. They gave me a bulletin, and we sang a couple songs. And I'm used to kind of more of a contemporary service, and this one was a little more traditional, which was fine. There's no wrong way to worship. I was, open to many things. And so the songs were cool and everything. But when I started to feel uncomfortable was when they did this response thing between the pastor and the congregation. That's when things made me a little uncomfortable. I was comfortable before, but now I was definitely not comfortable because the pastor would say something and then the congregation would answer, but I had no idea what they were how they knew what to say. So I looked over, and this guy is reading the answers to the questions the pastor is asking, and he has this little red book thing, and I was like, oh, as a guest, I would have never known that I needed to bring this book or buy this book for this church service. So that's the thing that kind of made me a little frustrated was, as a guest, they're not very open to the idea of having guests, because in order to participate in this church service, you needed to have this book. And then the other time I felt kind of uncomfortable was during communion. The person who was working, he said that it was our turn for communion. The people in my row went, but I didn't go because I'm Lutheran and I can't take communion at a Catholic church. And as they were, getting up to go take communion and coming back, each time everybody looked at me and it made me feel so uncomfortable, I wanted to leave. But I stuck through it because I had to finish this project. But it made me feel so uncomfortable, and I was frustrated and I wanted to cry, and I never really felt like this before. And so that's church ended, and literally the revelation in all of this, everything that I learned, and the connection to a multicultural education is this. Me personally, once I walked out of those doors, I was no longer, a minority. Once, I left and drove back to my neighborhood, I was no longer a minority. But my students, if they are, a minority, they will always be a minority no matter where they go. And so, that made me really, open my eyes to my privilege and who I am as a white person. And it made me heartbroken because I couldn't even handle being uncomfortable for an hour for a church service, but my students and even my siblings, they're black and white, and so they will go through this if they haven't gone through it already. And so they know that what it feels like to always be a minority, and they will never find themselves in a situation in which they're not the minority, because even if statistically there are more black people in this area, they're still going to be looked upon as a minority, especially from people of other races who believe certain things. So that just made me heartbroken to realize that my students and my family, they will always feel like this and for the rest of their lives. But I couldn't even handle it for an hour. So that was a huge revelation for me, is as a teacher, just to be aware of who I am and how to be more how to make sure that these children in my classroom are feeling accepted and they don't feel like a fish out of water in their own classroom, because it should be a safe space for them to learn and grow. So yeah, that's all I learned. It was a fun experience. I probably won't go back, but that's okay.